Today we're going to be looking at bad financial advice in TikTok. I can't wait to see what we hear from other people.
Guys, we're talking tax write-offs. You can literally write off anything, but the IRS doesn't want you to know this, guys. Cars, private planes, hookers, anything. As long as it's a business expense, guys, it's free money. Why? Because the IRS does not care about business expenses, guys. It's literally free money. Before we were talking about that $5,000 tax-free, credit-free, sugar-free government loan that you're gonna get. You invested into the triplex. You live in one unit, you rent out the other two. Stay with me now, John, stay with me, right? And then you raise the rent, you refi, right? You pull $1 million out of the property. Now you pay off the old loan with that. Now you're a millionaire, right? Stay with me. You profit, then you depreciate that property, and then boom, everything is tax-free, guys. And that's how it works. And I know what you're thinking. Isn't this a Ponzi scheme? And the answer is no, guys, right? And stay with me. You take that transaction and you bring it over here into that bucket. You invested into that transaction. And guys, that's how we end up with circular transactions, okay? Just open an LLC, guys. An LLC protects you from any kind of business malpractice, and the IRS literally cannot touch you legally. Right, guys?
Open an LLC and the IRS doesn't care and can't touch you? Wow. I hope people are not following what he's saying. There's like so many rules that need to be followed, and just commingling funds will open up a huge can of worms, liability-wise and IRS-wise, and you pierce the veil of your corporation if you're mixing, if you're not following specific rules. And that's the first thing they're gonna want, to dissolve that. No, you're not immune from that, from any of it.
You take that, right, then you buy the initial property, right, then you take that property, you sell it to your mom, right? Stay with me. Now it's in her name. Now that's tax-free, right? Then we use her credit, right, to flip the house and then buy your next property. And guys, that's how we build.
You sell your house to your mom, a related party transaction. I don't know exactly what he's trying to do with his mom and hide something, but that is a related party transaction, and depending on where he's coming from, it needs to be actually, we have to report that. There is a part on the forms and some of these things when they say sale related party transactions, especially if you're trying to avoid taxation. There's other ways to go about it, but it's not just, let me just throw things around everywhere and everything is going to be fine.
The 401k is so bad, if it didn't exist, we wouldn't invent it.
Many people, they'll say to me, I say, how you doing? They go, well, I built up $1 million in my 401k. And I go, you don't have $1 million in your 401k. He said, what do you mean? I said, well, first of all, half of that's the government.
Right. The second you take any money out.
Yeah, 50% tax back to this person.
That might be the dumbest thing I've heard all day. 50% is going to taxes? No way. Typically, you'll withdraw 4% annually, and on $1 million, that's $40,000 a year. After the standard deduction of $12,950, that leaves $27,050 as taxable income. You'd end up paying about $3,000 in taxes, which is about 7.5% of the $40,000 you took out. So don't be that guy and give the government 50% of your money. In fact, if you put it into the Roth portion of your 401k, it'll all be tax-free.
Okay, so that is correct. There is a 10% penalty. So that on $40,000, you would have a 10% penalty. And yes, depending on your income, you would pay taxes. So 50%, the highest tax bracket currently is 37%. So why these people would say 50%, I don't know where they're getting those numbers from. I do have to say, if you want to take money out of your 401k, you could do a self-directed retirement plan, and there are options that work very well for people that have a lot of money in a 401k and they could start a business. Usually there's specific rules that need to be followed, like starting a corporation, following a specific forms, but it can be done without paying any taxes. However, if you take some money out under 59.5, there are special exemptions, but under 59.5, you will take that 10% penalty on top the taxation according to where you are in your tax bracket.
Some of the worst financial advice I've heard is when people say, stop spending $5 on coffee, or stop eating out and save your money, because you're conditioning your brain to live with less instead of learning how to make more. You don't get rich by playing defense, you get rich by playing offense. How do you think I got all this? It wasn't from cutting coffee out of my life. And I know some of the finance bros in the comments are gonna be like, but it's about controlling your spending habits. Yeah, that applies when you're trying to get a 6-year loan for a $30,000 car or spend $2,000 on a designer t-shirt. It does not apply to a $5 cup of coffee.
I totally disagree. You can have a cup of coffee at $5 a piece, but not every day or twice a day. Do the math. It all adds up. Before you know it, you could capitalize that with that kind of money. You could put that on something. You could put it on a savings account. And why do you need the $5 cup of coffee when you could probably make one at home for a third of the price? That convenience is killing us and doing constantly consuming it. I mean, I'm not saying I love Starbucks. I go there all the time. But not every day, not twice a day. Okay, and it's got to be according to where you're benefiting from your investments, not already starting to spend your money that you have kept, that you need for yourself to capitalize. Add it up. You spend $10 a day going to coffee every day times 30 days times 60 days. Do the math.
If you think that saving $5 a day is gonna make you rich, you will never be rich. In reality, your goal shouldn't be to save $5 a day on coffee. It should be to increase your income past a certain threshold. The magic number here is around $12,000 a month, because if you can make that much, everything in your life changes and things become insignificant. You can get coffee, you can go out to eat whenever you want. You don't have to worry about your rent. You remove a lot of stress from your life. Instead of trying to live with nothing and struggle and have a terrible life, why not try to increase that number so you can actually enjoy? Because there's two types of people. There's people that save their $5.
Of course, you can increase the income for sure, but that takes time. In the meantime, you can't go out and spend $5 or $10 a coffee out a day. So that's capitalizing. You got to make sure you have and you're making that kind of income to start making some decisions. And even then, you must watch out where your money is going. Doing the math. Every day, $5 a day for a cup of coffee really adds up where it can go somewhere else. I'm not saying you shouldn't have a cup of coffee once or twice a week, maybe. But every day, deny yourself a cup of coffee? No, you're not denying yourself a cup of coffee. You're denying yourself the ability to invest in what you really want, at least until you make your $12,000 worth of income, which is what he's saying. And not a lot of people can make $12,000 worth of income every month. It takes a lot of work and sacrifice. So in the meantime, you gotta watch out and try to take care of what you have.
$5 on coffee for 20, 30 years, and by the time they're 50 years old, they retire with like $200,000 in the bank, and they think it's great. And there are the people that raise their income and actually get to enjoy their life in their 20s or 30s. They get to go on vacation while they have energy. They get to spend time with their family. They get to do things that they can't do when they're older. There's no point in getting a Lamborghini when you're 70 years old. It's a lot better when you get it younger, and the only way to do that is by going on offense. And my last piece on this, people are like, oh, but you make it sound so easy to increase your income. It is. You have access to the internet. Learn skills that make you valuable. Learn marketing. Learn sales. Learn social media. Think about all the people that are rich in the world that are young nowadays because of the internet. If you're lazy, I get it. Save your $5 on coffee. But if you want a good life, you want to get rich young, make more money.
I do agree. Learn. Every day you gotta learn. You gotta do something to learn and get better and increase and basically change into this different life that you really want. Absolutely. But the premise and the first thing, don't spend it on whatever you want. You have to get there first. You have to learn first. You have to earn it one way or another.
Let's talk about the worst financial advice I've ever heard. Number one is don't invest until you've paid off all your debt. The reason this is first is because of a concept called compound interest, which essentially allows your money to grow on top of itself over time. Basically, if you wait to start investing, let's say 10 years, you could lose out on hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of growth. And obviously, being a numbers person, I've run the numbers for you. So let's say you're 22 and you invest $100 a month, nothing more between now and the time you retire at 65. You'd end up with almost $300,000. Let's say you wait 10 years and you start investing at 32 after you've paid off your student loan in full. You'd retire with $140,000. So essentially by waiting 10 years, you cut your savings in half. Number two, and this one makes me really angry, is that budgets are dumb and you don't need one. If you are someone who wants to see long-term, consistent, sustainable financial success, you need to start with a budget. The only people who say budgets are dumb are people who aren't good at saving money or don't want to get out of their own way to save money, or financial gurus who are trying to get your attention. A budget that's built correctly, meaning that it's a zero-based 3-bucket budget, should open up opportunities for you. It should give you permission to spend. It should not be feeling super restrictive. It shouldn't make you feel like you can't say yes to things. If anything, it should.
I think a lot of this advice is very reasonable. Start putting money away early on a monthly basis. It'll grow. I mean, it's gonna make a lot of changes throughout time, depending on the interest, on the crashes, or whatever. But I think this is a lot more reasonable. She's also saying have a budget. I think this one is actually going pretty well.
Help you design the lifestyle that you actually want to live. Long story short, a zero-based 3-bucket budget is a budget that allocates every dollar that you earn to either an expense or a financial goal, and it categorizes everything into essential expenses, financial goals, and non-essential expenses. Number 3 is that you need a financial advisor to be financially successful. I disagree with this so deeply, especially because many financial advisors, not all, but many, don't necessarily have your best intentions at heart. And I think something that's really important to remember on your personal financial journey is that nobody cares about your money more than you do. A very small amount of financial education is plenty for the majority of people. And if you're looking to get started investing without a financial advisor, I have a free investing guide that's available on my page.
Okay, that's where she really lost me. She's really trying to sell something. You do need a lot of information for financial, to do investments. You don't just go and invest without having, even you could check out different financial advisors and until you get comfortable. It takes years, not only of experience, but formal education to understand investments and the experience itself. So how could anybody, and maybe that's what we're making, all the mistakes that we're making, people coming out and saying, you could just do it without a financial advisor. Just buy my guide and you're gonna get rich and you're gonna make all this money that I'm telling you about. No, definitely not. It was going really well, but that's when I kind of lost it, because it's almost like she's starting with a really good way, but then at the end she's just nothing but trying to maybe sell something, and that's where I got lost on this one.
Number 4 is that credit cards are bad. Credit cards are not bad unless you use them incorrectly or if you abuse them. And number 5 is that renting is throwing money away. This argument makes me so angry because it's literally a toxic push to make people feel like unless they buy property, they're wasting their money and they're never going to be financially successful. In many cases, buying property is not a financially smart move to make. And I know that makes people angry, but you have to run the numbers. Anyways, I'd love to hear what's the worst financial advice you've ever heard, so let me.
Yes, that's for sure. You have to run the numbers. The investments on property are definitely something that should be balanced along in a portfolio. Shouldn't be just one or the other. Yes, some people like to rent, some people like to own. There are definitely benefits to both. If you're a tenant, you don't have to pay for anything. I shouldn't say for anything, but they should be the maintenance and a lot of little upkeeps that are natural to a homeowner. As a renter, you don't. But also, every time you put money into your property, or most of the times, you're capitalizing to making it worth more. So owning property is definitely something that I would recommend if you can and you're up for dealing with the good and the bad that comes with it. But saying that owning property is definitely not good, or I totally disagree. There's also a lot of tax benefits when it comes to owning property.
You are not filing bankruptcy because you are assuming that you're going to lose everything. Y'all don't have nothing to lose. Trump is still the president and he has filed bankruptcy how many times? So when you think of bankruptcy and you think you're going to lose everything, no, you're not. Forever 21 just filed bankruptcy.
And this is why we don't take financial advice from random people on TikTok. This video has 1 million views and the comments are just full of misinformation and wrong information, so let's clear it up from someone who actually knows what she's talking about. First of all, this video says you'll be fine because Donald Trump and Forever 21 have filed for bankruptcy in the past. Do we think personal bankruptcy is the same as for a business? Because it's not. These examples are a completely different situation than you as an individual filing for Chapter 7 or Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Second of all, do you think your debt is going to just magically disappear? Bankruptcy is for people who have been trying to pay pay off their debt and can prove that they actually can't. If you want to go this route, you're going to have to show that you, one, made an honest effort, and two, cannot reasonably pay this debt. And most importantly, bankruptcy will destroy your credit score. Like, it will drop more than 100 points. Good luck getting a loan after that. And just to be clear, this isn't anything against this creator specifically, but this video is overly simplistic about a very serious topic. Bankruptcy is a legitimate tool for people who are genuinely overwhelmed by debt and need a fresh start, but there are still going to be serious consequences that these types of videos are not talking about. There's no free lunch. You don't get to just spend the money and then walk away from the debt.
You are not filing bankruptcy because you are assuming that you're going to lose.
That's correct. You got to be accountable for your consumption, for everything. And yes, bankruptcy law has gotten more and more difficult they've learned over time the things that people want to do. And yes, they want to use Trump as an example. Business bankruptcy is totally different than a personal bankruptcy when somebody doesn't have the resources that Trump has. So definitely really, really bad situation. So I totally agree with her. If you incur debt, it's not going to be that easy to just go and file for bankruptcy, no matter what people tell you. It's going to get complicated, messy, and it could really ruin your credit for many years. So you're not be able to do anything. And one of the things that people do, you could leverage debt if you learn to do that, but then you need to understand how to do that correctly.
School teaches you slavery. My poor dad was my real father. One reason he got a PhD, he would make more money and he'd be free. And it didn't, because more money doesn't make you free. My rich dad's my best friend's father. I never went to school. And he started teaching me about money at the age of 10. He simply taught me about money playing Monopoly. I said, why are we playing Monopoly? I had to work for free. He says, if I pay you, you think like an employee. So we played Monopoly, and we all know the formula for freedom in that game is 4 greenhouses, 1031 tax deferred exchange. So you never pay taxes, and you get income. Your neural pathways, your brain needs to change for you to change. And our schools, when they program you to go to school, get a job, work hard, save money, get out of debt, and invest for the long term in the stock market, in a 401k or IRA, worst financial advice possible. That's not freedom, that's slavery.
Wow, getting a PhD is slavery. That's a bit harsh. I do believe that getting a degree is a tool, and you're going to make whatever you want out of it, whether it's money, just have the ability to have that job you want or the business you want to create. But slavery, no, it's what gets us from point A to point B. That's it. But it does not determine how we make of that tool. Is nothing but a tool. That's what school is. That's what going and getting a degree is. How many people out there do not even continue doing their career, but yet they're very successful because they did have that ability to be trained. They did have that recognition is you are trainable. I am disciplined. It's got nothing to do with slavery. It's got something to do. I've got a tool. I know what to do with it. And I want to utilize it in the way that fits me. So, no, definitely not. Why slavery?
And invest for the long term in the stock market, in a 401k or IRA, worst financial advice possible. That's not freedom, that's slavery.
Invest in a 401k. It's the worst thing. Well, if you are in the 37% tax bracket, that's not necessarily right. That's not necessarily correct, because you may want to put that money in a 401k, defer it, and or some kind of investments so you do not pay those taxes. That's a lot of the reasons why we have 401ks. A lot of it is for business owners and employees to defer towards their retirement. So I don't understand why he would say that's the worst thing. It all depends how you're managing it, what you're doing with it. But anyhow, that's it for today. I have really enjoyed looking at this. This is actually very interesting. Never done this before, but I really enjoyed it. It's something that I can see doing some more of. If you like this video, like and subscribe. If you want me to do more of this, put it in the comments, and I'll see you next time.